Connecticut Big Dogs taking on the Dogs from Gonzaga. And for more on the Zags, we head out to the West Coast with Greg Heister and Stephen Bardo.
Well, those school books are certainly secondary in the minds of the students here at Gonzaga University as they pour into the McCarthy Athletic Center for Midnight Madness. The 08-09 basketball campaign about to begin here tonight in Spokane, Washington. And why shouldn't they be excited? This program now amongst the elite in all of college basketball as we look at the students getting autographs signed by their favorite players. And welcome back to ESPNU's coverage of Midnight Madness presented by Phillips 66. You're inside the McCarthy Athletic Center where Gonzaga has been dominant since they opened the doors of this building now 5 years ago. They have just 2 losses. Nice to see you. Greg Heiser along with Stephen Bardo. And Stephen, when you talk about home court advantages, there are a lot of great ones throughout this country, but this is certainly near the top of the list.
Well, it's a very tough place to play. You come in, the student section is right on your neck. Very intimate setting for Gonzaga. Very tough place to come in and try to steal a victory.
All right, let's have a little fun now. Let's go retro. Let's flash back to the days of Stephen Bardo at the University of Illinois in the mid-1980s. What's it like for a player as they don that uniform and they get ready to practice?
Well, it's the first time you get a chance to get busy on the court. All the preseason conditioning, all the weightlifting, your hamstrings are sore, your back is sore, but now you get a chance to beat up on your teammates for real.
And Gonzaga, of course, when you talk about expectations, they've gone so high over the last half decade or so, and once again, they're very, very high for this program. Can they live up to it?
I think so, Greg. When you look at Gonzaga this year, you're looking at 3 different segments of what I'd like to break down a little bit. The first one is Josh Heitfeld. This young man as a freshman was one of the best big men in the nation, can do everything on the court, got to find his rhythm that he had freshman year. Then you look at the X factor, to me, is Austin Day. Young man can stretch the defense, a very underrated shot blocker. And then the third point that I'd love to break down is the depth of the team. You got Pargo, Bolden, Micah Downs, Stephen Gray, Ira Brown. They can hit you so many different ways. They can play so many different types of styles in terms of up-tempo or grind you.
And there we can take a look at the graphic. This is a veteran-led team. You talked about the depth. Last season they lose David Pendergraft and Abdullah Kuso, 2 of the tougher players that Mark Few has had in his tenure. Where do they find the toughness on that team needed to live up to expectations?
Well, it's going to have to be done by a group effort. You talk about Pendergraft and Kuso would give up their body nightly. The guys that are listed there, Heitfeld, Day, and Bolden, are more scorers, and so they have to give up their body consistently like the other 2 guys did.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that graphic says it all about Gonzaga basketball and where it was, where it is now. And Stephen, 9 seasons, all 21 seasons, and of course we look at the trips of the NC2A tournament. This program's here now, and it's been here for a long time.
Well, it's one of the elite in the country. The numbers speak for themselves, and it's the consistency that's so impressive about what they've been able to accomplish here in Spokane.
And of course, we know what the players are going through. They love this moment tonight and this opportunity to get out in front of their fans. We're joined by the architect now of this program, the head coach, and Mark Few. And Coach, we're wondering, what's it like for the coaching staff on nights like this?
Just hurry up and get through it. Try not to get anybody hurt in the dunk contest. Fully knowing, though, you want your players to have fun. This kind of marks the start of a long journey, you know, as both you guys can relate to, traveling with us and playing. And you want them to have fun, and this is also about the fans. Tonight's about the fans. It's a way for us here in Spokane. Not everybody is able to get into our games because they're all sold out. So we really opened this up to the public, and this, in a lot of cases, is their first, visit into the kennel to watch our guys play.
Well, Coach, this is old hat for you in terms of you guys being ranked so high. What do you do to prepare your players to get ready and to stay humble during the process?
Well, I think they're a pretty grounded group. You know, they're a confident group, but they're a grounded group. And they've been, as you said, and you know, they've been ranked high before. They've played in a lot of big games. We just start like we always do at ground zero. We're just going to try to keep building and growing as the season goes along. If we can keep getting better every week with this group, then we should be pretty good at the end of it.
And Coach, I know one of the strengths of this team is certainly the depth. You've got a lot of great players who can put up big points any night, but who's the one guy that you got to look to this season? You've had a lot of those type players over the years.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to be more of a collective situation where we don't need to go to the same guy. I think last year Jeremy maybe felt like he had to take the big shot night in and night out. I'm hoping this year all of us will understand that it might be Matt Bolden some nights, it might be Stephen Gray some nights. Micah Downs can take a big shot. Obviously Austin Day, and even Josh Heidfeld getting back healthy this year. So it's something we've been talking about all off season and even in through the fall about, hey, we got to use our collective strengths and not take the world on by ourselves.
Head coach Mark Few, and of course expectations are very, very high again for Gonzaga. Let's go back to the studio now. We'll come back with more in a bit. Here's Lowell Galindo.
Well, we already heard that label, mid-major, a label that Andy Katz does not agree with whatsoever.
No, I just thought that it was a little demeaning according to a lot of schools. A lot of schools got mad at us for using it, so Lowell and I came up with a lower profile term, which I don't know if that caught on.
I grew up with mid-major, man. Mid-major all day long.
Got all worried about it.
Mid-major.
We got calls, Xavier
all day
upset.
long. If you ask me, that's what it's going to be.
Well, now it's time, regardless of the label we give them, to talk about them, pump them up a little bit. We know Davidson's there. Who are the other mid-major / lower profile schools we really need to watch this season?
Well, it starts, I think, with Siena. Fran McCaffrey has said on many occasions in this offseason he thinks the Saints could be one of the top teams in the country, and they're going to get a chance to show it. When they're in the Old Spice Classic in Orlando, they're going to open up against Tennessee. It's a loaded field, maybe the best field of any non-conference tournament with Gonzaga and Georgetown and Oklahoma State and Michigan State and Maryland in that field. If Siena can get out of that with 2 wins, certainly knocking off Tennessee, they will make a name for themselves. They also play at Pittsburgh, and they play Kansas.
And we're going to have Coach McCaffrey on the show coming up, and we're going to ask him about that very hectic tournament coming up, and we'll hear what he thinks about CNN if they can run through that tournament. Who are you looking for, AB?
Well, it's obvious. I think it's obvious for everybody. Gonzaga. I think Gonzaga is this year's Davidson, where they have what we talked about. They have a stacked roster. You have the Player of the Year coming back in Jeremy Pargo, their point guard, but also they're one of the bigger teams in their conference. You've got 6'11" Heifeld. You've got 6'10" Austin Day. They've got different size, which creates matchup problems. That's still a mid-major team as well as St. Mary's. They're a fantastic team to me.
But see, that's the problem. Because they don't consider themselves a mid-major. They think that, no, I'm serious.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
I know, but that's the problem of including them in the same kind of conversation with Siena or schools like that.
What about
I'm just saying
Gonzaga?
Okay. Gonzaga, you could argue, plays in a mid-major conference, the WCC. But Gonzaga as a program. Gonzaga as a program, I think you could argue, is an elite program. They get big-time games.
What kind of money are they bringing in? Are they bringing in the same kind of money as the Big House? Are they bringing in? Do they have a football program? So I'm saying, okay, but Villanova's playing in the Power Conference. Now you look at the same kind of conference.
I think
WCC, they're very nice. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I mean, I'm not knocking any of this, but I'm saying, you know what? The golden rule wins. He who's got the gold makes the rules.
You ever heard of Brian Westbrook, running back for the Philadelphia Eagles? He played football at Villanova.
I know they have a football team.
Okay. Well, you said they don't have a football team.
A major football team.
Okay. Championship, subdivision.
Yes. Sorry.
We're going with those labels there. When we see these games, the notable games for the non-BCS, there's another football term for you.
You're a football guy.
What does some of these mean right here in the early stretch?
Some of these games? Well, first of all, St. Mary's, okay, I know you didn't put this tournament up here, but I'm going to shill for the company. Okay, St. Mary's is in the Anaheim Classic. That is where we're going to learn a lot about the Gales, because in that tournament you've got Wake Forest, you've got Baylor, Arizona State, Providence, UTEP. If they can come out of that, then you're going to hear about that team throughout the course of the season. Davidson, as you see there, West Virginia and the Jimmy V, they play NC State, they go at Duke. They're going to have some quality games. They also play Purdue and Indianapolis and Memphis. Is Memphis a mid-major? They're on this list, bro.
I think that's an awesome argument because, like you said, with people like Memphis, they've been winning big. But again, what's their conference? What would they be considered?
Wow.
Yeah.
Mid-major. John Calipari, we got him. Right, get him in the coach's corner.
Give us some wisdom.
On the graphic, it says non-BCS team. So we've gone from mid-major. We've just completely blurred that
non-BCS dresses
line.
it up.
There you go. We got college football coming up. Oh, there's that word again. Arkansas.
And welcome Welcome back to ESPNU's coverage of Midnight Madness, brought to you by Phillips 66. And welcome back to the McCarthy Athletic Center in Spokane, Washington. The scrimmage for Gonzaga about to go underway. And we go down to the court now. So that's where Stephen Bardo is. And Stephen, what do the coaches hope to get out of this experience for these players tonight?
Well, no injuries and a lot of fun for the fans. It's really for the fans. Let the players get out, burn some energy, but they're just praying for no injuries at all.
And we can run through the starting lineups here. Obviously, we've got the Zags, half the team in their road blues. Foster, Ira Brown, Jeremy Pargo, number 2, Micah Downs, and Grant Gibbs, the freshman. It'll be the white team controlling. That's Dimitri Goodson out of Texas, a freshman, to Matt Bolden. Andy Poling there along with Stephen Gray and Josh Heitfeld. Gray out on top. This is Bolden to Heitfeld right away over Foster. Missed the shot. Poling with the rebound. No good. Knocked out of bounds. It'll stay with the white team.
Hey, that's a good sign, Greg, for Gonzaga in general, that Heitfeld's being a little aggressive early. You know, he can kind of tends to float a little bit sometimes, but when he's aggressive early, usually good things happen.
They've had trouble getting easy points from the low post over the last couple of years since really the loss of J.P. Batista. There's Bolden. That's a 3-ball and a 3-zip. Matt Bolden, a very dangerous shooter for Gonzaga.
Well, and his game has really evolved since he's come here. Very underrated rebounder, very good passer as well.
Now watch Goodson. This guy's electricity in the open court. Stephen Gray, quick 3 from the wing, and a 6-zip. Stephen Gray missed the first 10 games a year ago and then exploded on the scene down the stretch for Gonzaga. Stephen, he was huge.
You know what, Stephen Gray is, he's got the perfect demeanor in the game in terms of he doesn't change facial expressions, very steady, but really good shooter from outside, but expect to see him work more on the penetration game this year.
Second turnover by the blue team, and now Goodson, the freshman, back running point. Pargo defending. 6-0. You're watching the scrimmage for Midnight Madness here at McCarthy Athletic Center in Spokane. Gonzaga now champions of the WCC, at least sharing that title for 8 consecutive years. Turnover, Ira Brown in the open court. This is Grant Gibbs, the freshman out of Iowa, finishing with the left hand. It's 6-2. Up court, Heitfeld.
Yeah, Josh Heitfeld, one of the fastest big men in the country. He can get 6 to 8 points a game just running the floor. Hopefully he's healthy. He's had some injuries here lately, so he comes back 100% healthy. He'll be quite a force here for Gonzaga.
Another turnover there. And Stephen, really, it's his ability to run the floor that makes Josh Heitfeld at 6'11" so unique.
Yeah, I agree, Greg. And, you know, he can run the floor, beat you to the block. But then if you stop that, he can slip away, and he's got 3-point range. He can put it on the floor 2 or 3 times. Just a multi-talented big man who I think is going to have a breakout season.
There's Heitfeld along the baseline to Bolden to Austin Day. The sleeves cut off. Jump shot short. Micah Downs clears it. Here's Pargo now.
We talked in the open about Austin Day and how important he is to this ball club. Showing some good defense right there. But one thing, Greg, that most people are concerned about is his strength level. So he's got to really work hard in the weight room to really maximize his potential.
And right away they go right back to Josh Heitfeld, who draws the foul. So Josh will go to the free throw line. And to talk more about Heitfeld, it was later learned after last year that that foot was bothering him again. He had surgery after the 07 season, and then again had surgery in this offseason on his right foot. Talked to him before this scrimmage tonight, and he told me it feels great. There's absolutely no pain. So I think this program once again is expecting a lot out of number 42.
Yeah, Greg, and we talked about earlier as well how mature he seems in terms of what he's had to go through, the off-the-court situations, the injuries, you know, and with his little daughter in terms of having to mature. And I think we're going to see the culmination of all those things this season for Josh Heitfeld.
Josh, now in his 5th season, earned his degree after year number 4, now working on a master's degree. So certainly he's turned his life around for the better, and it looks as though he's poised for a great season at Gonzaga. There's Gibbs, the freshman, picked up the dribble. Ira Brown now.
Ira Brown looks like a grown man out there, doesn't he? Boy, he is put together.
Just don't get in the way of that 95-mile-an-hour fastball he can throw. Will Foster with a great entry pass. And the dunk by Foster.
We talked in open who was going to replace Huso and Pendergraft. And Will Foster hasn't gotten a lot of time in the past, but we may see more of him coming off the bench.
And the finish by Ira Brown. Again, a great entry feed into transition. Bolden to Gray, three-point shot, good. Stephen Gray shot nearly 47% from three a year ago. He is deadly now this year from 21.6. Or I'm sorry, 20.6. Pargo with it. He'll shoot the three. That's off, way off. Outlet to Gray. Move. And now Day, open shot from the wing. That's short. Stephen, how big a difference is 19.9 out of 20.6?
It's really not that much in terms of, it's more mental than anything, and the way that it's painted on the floor will really help them in terms of picking up the color.
And our first timeout. So we'll take a timeout. We'll send it back to the studio to Mr. Lo Galindo. Midnight Madness continues.
Mr.
Welcome back to ESPNU's coverage of Midnight Madness, presented by Phillips 66. We're here at McCarthy Athletic Center on the campus of Gonzaga. But first, a 2006 game day flashback. A sellout crowd. Remember the stash. Adam Morrison scored 12 of his final 34 points in the last 3 minutes. Number 5, Gonzaga held off Stanford 80-76. It extended the nation's longest winning streak to 36 games. And for the 9th consecutive year, Gonzaga won 20 games. Adam Morrison, a former All-America at Gonzaga. And speaking of another difficult non-conference schedule, it starts there first with Oklahoma State and Orlando, and then game 2 of that tournament either against Michigan State or Maryland, Arizona, Connecticut, Tennessee, Memphis, throw in Washington State, and Indiana, and the University of Utah. Greg Heister along with Stephen Bardo. And Bardo, this non-conference schedule once again difficult in the nation.
Yeah, they really try to do that every season, Greg, because they play in the West Coast Conference. Sometimes the conference doesn't rank out among some of the better conferences around the country. So to ensure their trip to the NCAA, they try to play the toughest non-conference schedule that they possibly can. Mark Few will go anywhere, anytime, any place to play anyone, and he's garnered a tremendous amount of respect from other coaches around the country.
As we continue our coverage of the scrimmage here, that's Dimitri Goodson in the open court, number 3. Freshman out of Texas to the low post. Heitfeld back out. And now, Stephen, we've got several seniors on this team and really a veteran Gonzaga program right now who's been through 4 years of non-conference schedules like that. This team is very mentally tough, even as they start this year in November.
Yeah, they really are. And, you know, it starts in the backcourt with Jeremy Pargo, the returning player of the year in the conference. But, you know, you look at Micah Downs, who was started at Kansas, and you look at Bolden, who seems like he's been here for 4 or 5 seasons, and Josh Heitfeld, and they just have so much veteran leadership on this ball club that it can go a number of different ways for them any night. And so that will be something that they lean on heavily throughout the season.
Throughout Mark Few's tenure here at Gonzaga, he's always had that one player who could drop 30 points in a game. The team last year and this team this year, they don't really have that player. Is that an advantage or a disadvantage, Stephen?
Well, they can be versatile in the way that they attack teams, and so I think it would be an advantage because you can't key on one particular player in any given night. Austin Day can hit you for 20. Bolden can sting you for 20. We've seen what Pargo and Heitfeld can do, so very difficult to stop on the offensive end. Oh, my goodness.
Wow, Josh Heitfeld with a tip jam off the Andy Poling miss. Pargo at the other end missed the layup, tipped back Foster. No good. Pargo with it, tipped away. Bolden now with it.
Wow.
And now Dimitri Goodson in the open court. This young man can fly.
And Coach Few was just saying that he loves this young man's ability to read the floor, read situations. Just a talented young freshman.
And now Pargo, the senior, on this really quick freshman to the rim with the left hand, and he drops it through. And Bolden with a steal, and then Micah Downs took it right back. 37 seconds to go. Downs the deep three, no good.
Micah Downs hasn't quite lived up to the potential that a lot of people thought he would, but he, along with Heitfeld, I think will have a big year.
Ira Brown drops into three, and Leon Rice wants a timeout, and he gets it. Chris Pondolero-Mogg checking in for Josh Heitfeld. And Stephen, you got Austin Day. What's he got to say for us?
Well, I'm down here with big fella. What did you think tonight?
It was pretty exciting. I'm glad all the fans got to come out. It was a good game. We won, so that's all I care about. So all is well today.
Austin, tell us about the strength of your knee. I know that was some concern over the summer. Give us an update.
Well, I was playing today, and I was just fortunate to get a couple minutes in, and I'm getting back to 5-on-5, and I'm happy about that. And we've just done a lot of work on my knee with strengthening it and getting it back to 100%. And I just took out MRI the other day, and I got 100% results, so I was happy about that. So my bone bruise is healed and my ACL's fine, so I'm happy.
All right, Austin, thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.
And our final score, the white team 39, the blue team 27. We go back down to the floor to Stephen Bardo, who's got the head coach, Mark Few.
Hey, Greg, thanks a lot. Coach Few, it appears as though you guys went a little bit harder than the typical Midnight Madness game that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think most coaches probably don't want to put their guys out in front of the public, the first night of the year. But this is an experienced group. Thought they did a nice job of taking care of the ball and not embarrassing themselves, and also having some fun. And I'd be remiss to not say that, did you not make your first 5 shots right out of the booth? No warm-ups, America. He made his first 5 shots.
Hey, Coach, I appreciate that. Checks in the mail.
Yeah.
But you look at the health of your team. Josh Heitfeld having an injury. Austin Day coming back from a knee injury. Are you concerned about any of that going into the season?
Well, I feel better. They really are just starting to go 5-on-5. Josh within the last 2 weeks. Austin was just in the last couple days. So it's a lot better than it was. And it's a long season, so I know they'll be healthy here shortly.
All right, Coach. Thanks so much for your time and nice shout out to me there, partner.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
All right. All right, Greg, back to you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Coach Mark Few. We're going to find out a little bit later what Coach Few was talking about with Stephen Bardo's prowess on the floor, hitting his first 5 shots. You'll find that out a little bit later. For now, we send it back to the studio. Mr. Lowell Galindo. Midnight Madness continues. And welcome back to ESPNU's coverage of Midnight Madness presented by Phillips 66 here at Gonzaga inside the McCarthy Athletic Center. That's Jeremy Pargo in the Retro Pirates hat. I'm Greg Heister along with Stephen Bardo. And Stephen, you break that down. You're the analyst. I know nothing about it.
Jeremy's trying out for America's Best Dance Crew. It looks like he failed, so keep playing ball, Jeremy.
A lot of entertaining festivities here tonight. And Stephen, you got involved in that 3-point shooting competition. Made it all the way to the finals with Austin Day.
Well, see, I know what I can do. I won't try the dance moves. I'll just try the free throws every now and then. And had a lot of fun with Austin. He pulled me out of the crowd, and I was glad to try to help him out.
Well, you hit your first 5 shots, and you kept you guys in it right to the end.
Yeah, but Sorensen had the hot hand, and he made it look easy out there.
Yeah, Andrew Sorensen at the other end, and it went right down to the final shot. And then Austin Day took an opportunity with the mic.
I'm here with Stephen Bardo. Steve, why'd you let me down, man?
You know what, man? It's kind of tough to shoot in the suit. My flow wasn't on. Sorry I let you down, partner.
And he's got those tight pants on, too, so that's got something to do with it.
Oh, but the tight pants would have helped. Would have kept me warm, but...
Hey, he's keeping it old school. I'm trying to do this a little new, a little baggier, So that's all happened. We had one of the best shooters on the team go against us, and we lost. What are you going to do?
All right, man. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. All right.
The tight pants. Well, no tight pants in this competition. The slam dunk exhibition, they're calling it. And Jeremy Pargo got him going early.
Well, you know what, Greg? You don't think of Gonzaga as a very athletic ball club, but their backcourt, as we're seeing right now, can really sky and get up in the air. We're probably going to see some of these same kind of highlights throughout the season.
And this is Ira Brown, a senior junior college transfer, all the way to the elbow.
Try to go high as he can right there.
And Micah Downs between the legs. That was one of the great dunks, but this is how Jeremy Pargo ended it.
Well, he's a showman right there, and trying to give the crowd a little something to cheer about.
Okay, Stephen, it was all about fun here tonight at Gonzaga University. Business begins tomorrow. The season, the grind starts. Right. A lot of expectations on this program this year.
Yeah, a lot of expectations, but they're really used to this, Greg. They've had these expectations for a long time. We saw the success that they've enjoyed over the last decade. I don't see that changing at all this season.
One thing's for sure, Gonzaga will not lose many games at home. They've only lost 2 games inside the McCarthy Athletic Center in the first 4 now plus seasons here at this new building. So they're very tough to beat here.
Very tough to beat. The crowd is all over you. You know, 6,000 screaming fans. The student section is about as rowdy as you're going to see in the country, and they really feed off the home crowd, and very difficult to come in here and snatch one.
And the West Coast Conference, of course, very difficult. 8 out of the 10 first-team All-WCC players are back this year. This conference is loaded.
Yeah, it's going to be a great conference run for them. We saw last year they had 3 teams in the NCAA tournament. Expect quite the same, and Santa Clara to be much improved.
He's Stephen Bardo. I'm Greg Heister. It's been a lot of fun here tonight from the McCarthy Athletic Center in Spokane, Washington. Gonzaga's 08-09 season is now underway. We send it back to the studio and Mr. Lowell Galindo.
Basically a basketball rave going on down in Gonzaga, getting pumped up for the season. So many expectations with this group, but now everyone wants to see if Mark Few can do what Gonzaga's never done before. Maybe some flips like that will lead to Gonzaga's first ever trip to the Final Four. Now, Midnight Madness is not for every program out there. Some programs like USC and UCLA choosing not to go with the Midnight Madness, instead just focusing on that very serious practice. Other programs doing it a little early, like the guys out in Kentucky. And for that,